students, we are doing with the work energy power and continuation. We have discussed with you about the mechanical energy, conservation of mechanical energy for a freely falling body, means the body is released from a height. So potential energy and kinetic energy, they remain conserved. It means gravitational force is a conservative. Second case we are doing in continuation. We want to find the potential energy because of its configuration. It means elastic potential energy. So your heading will be elastic potential energy, and we want to derive the expression for the elastic potential energy. So that means we are talking about a spring like this is shown in the diagram. This is the helical spring. Like you are having a spring in your ball pen, similar type of spring it is. Or I may have a spherical spring also. So most of the times in lab also we work with the helical spring. This is just like helix, so we call it as the helical spring. So we want to see that helical spring, when I am stretching it through some distance, then what is happening to the force, and what will be the amount of potential energy, which is of course the elastic potential energy. We want to derive the expression for elastic potential energy. Now what it is, when we are having a block, we are taking of mass m, we are attaching it on one side of the spring and we are pulling it on one side. We may put the spring horizontally like this is shown, or I may put it vertically also. I can keep the spring vertically also. So that also can be your choice. If you want to put the spring vertically, then I can have this way and a mass can be attached on the lower end. And then I can have it when I extend the spring on this. Of course, we will be doing one experiment also with you, which is of course Hooke's law experiment. And this formula for the force which is given again is given by Hooke's law only. If I am taking the spring on one side, it means I am applying the force, and with that application of force I am extending the spring, and when I stop, means putting the mass, by mass putting mass also it will show the extension, and if I take out the mass, it means I unload it. Then what will happen, it will go to its initial position. This initial position can be taken as the mean position, that is x equals to 0. When you are taking it on one side, on the right hand side, that is one extreme, then when you release, it comes back to mean, it goes to the other extreme, simply like simple pendulum. But the thing is, the arrangement, even this extreme and mean position, you can always compare with the simple pendulum. But actually the force which is acting, that is, which is bringing it to the initial position, that is the restoring force, that always acts in a direction opposite to the displacement. I am giving the displacement on the right hand side, but this restoring force is coming on the left hand side. So this force is directly proportional to the displacement, but with negative sign. And if I remove the sign of proportionality, I get a constant K, which is termed as spring constant, or I may call it as proportionality constant, or I may call it as the force constant. So you may write it yourself that K here is the spring constant or force constant or simply proportionality constant it is. Because what Hooke said that you may write Hooke's law also, that Hooke's law states that within elastic limit, the restoring force is directly proportional to displacement, but in opposite direction. So this force, of course, we have to work within elastic limit. Elastic limit means if I'm working within elastic limit, I extend the body and I release, then what happens? That it comes back to its original configuration. But if I go beyond the elastic limit, then it will get stretched forever. It will never return to its mean position. It will never come back to its original position. So it means Hooke's law has been stated only for within the elastic limit. So this formula we are getting by using the Hooke's law. And if I have this value of force, which is spring force, I may call it as force as the spring force for the ideal spring within elastic limit we are working. Now what happens? Now if I am extending it from 0 position to say some position xc, then when it is getting compressed because of this force, spring force, then you can find the total work done can be taken by integrating this Fs dx. If I take force for the small distance, that will be of course a small amount of work done, dw. For finding total work done, you will be integrating within the limit 0 to xc, to which position it is going by itself. It is getting compressed by itself because of this force which is bringing it to this particular position. Now k is a constant. Of course, the spring constant can be taken out. Integration of x dx is x square divided by 2. And when you put the upper limit minus lower limit, then you may write it as work done. It is equals to minus of 1 by 2 kx square or kx c square, whatever you may write. Simply, if you want to bring from 0 to x position, then you may write it as half kx square, that is the magnitude, but negative sign is showing you the direction of the force. So this derivation is for your elastic potential energy for a stretched spring. What energy it is possessing, you can simply calculate it by having the knowledge of Hooke's law and simply by doing the integration to find the work done. Means if I want to do the graph plotting for the force and the displacement, I am getting force negative of kx. So the graph you are getting like this, and area under the force displacement graph also gives you the work done. This work done is stored as the elastic potential energy. So this should be clear. Now we can prove the conservation of mechanical energy by the spring force. Simply we can prove first that the spring force is conservative force. If I want to prove that this force, spring force, is a conservative force, then it means work done over the complete cycle should be equals to 0 over the closed path. Or I can prove that if the work done depends only upon the initial and final position, it is independent of the path taken. If I can prove any one of these two things, I can say that spring force is conservative. So for that, what we are doing is we are simply taking the same arrangement. We are keeping the spring horizontally only, helical spring it is. And if I extend it to one side, simply by pulling the mass, it goes on one side, then I release, it comes back to mean and goes to the other extreme position. So when we are finding the work done, we have already seen it is depending upon, if I am taking from initial position to final position, then work done will be given by half kx I square minus half kx f square. If xf is the final position, xi is the initial position. It means it depends only on the work done. If you want to complete the cycle, then of course you can prove that it will become equals to 0 if you are bringing it to this side and then it comes back to the same position. Then that can be proved even 0 also. If you are bringing it back to the initial position, you are starting from the initial position, you are bringing back to the initial position, then work done is coming out equals to 0. So whatever you can prove, and both the ways we can say that work done over the round trip is 0, so spring force is said to be conservative. Or it depends only on the initial and final position, so it is a conservative force. So when the force which is used here in deriving the expression for elastic potential energy is a conservative force, it means mechanical energy needs to be conserved. So it means if I am giving it some velocity, I can see that potential energy and kinetic energy should be interconvertible. So this is what you are supposed to do. So when we are saying that at a position that potential energy it is 0, when it is at the mean position means equilibrium position. If you are taking it to the extreme position, this is the value for the potential energy. I am writing it as U. Generally, we write potential energy as U only. At a given position x, it can be written as half kx square. Now, if you are extending the block to some position and releasing it, when you are releasing it, it means it is potential energy is getting converted into kinetic energy. Kinetic energy means this whole energy can be given as half kx square plus half mv square. So, if at a particular position kinetic energy is 0, then the total energy will be only potential energy. And if they are interconvertible, you can see that at the maximum position means when you are bringing it to the equilibrium position while moving, then whole potential energy will get converted into the kinetic energy, and then the velocity or speed will be maximum. From here, by equating this potential energy and kinetic energy, you can calculate the expression for the maximum speed of the spring which can be attained by the spring. So this expression, of course, you need to keep in mind. When you equate, you are getting V maximum velocity, that is equals to K upon M. K is the spring constant, M is of course the mass vector, mass of the given body which you are attaching to the spring, and Xe is the distance for the extreme position. Of course, I think you all are aware of that distance between mean position and extreme position is termed as the amplitude of oscillation. So that also can be kept in your mind. So if I want to do the graph plotting, then you can go with the graph plotting also. Now because potential energy you have seen it is half kx square, so it is directly proportional to the x square. So you are going to get a parabolic curve. At mean position the potential energy is 0, at extreme stretched position it is maximum on one extreme, it is again maximum on the other extreme, but sign you may take negative. Kinetic energy will be maximum at the mean position and it will be minimum at the extreme position. So in between you can say that it is partially potential, partially kinetic. So you should be able to work out all these things. Graph plotting is also very important. So this was all about the elastic potential energy and its conservation of the mechanical energy when you are moving the spring. And of course you can see here in the graph also this yellow line again is giving you the total mechanical energy which is equals to sum of the kinetic energy and potential. We are talking about the energy conservation, but Einstein has said he discovered that mass and energy they are interconvertible. So not under normal conditions it is possible only if the body is moving with a speed which is comparable to the speed of light. So V is comparable to the speed of light, then only the mass of the body can be written as m naught divided by square root 1 minus v square upon c square. This equation has been asked to you, prove dimensionally correct at times, but of course this exam you are not getting all these things, but this is for your awareness. So what he said that E it is equals to mc square. Or in the nuclear reactions, I can say in the nuclear reactions we use the term E equals to delta mc square, where delta m is the mass defect. Mass defect means the difference of the mass between the reactants and the products. So when you are having the uranium, you are breaking it to get the nuclear energy, then you can find the difference in the mass of the reactants and products, and that difference multiplied with c speed of the light square will give you the energy released, and that has been proven experimentally correct. So this relation is correct, and of course you can this Einstein relation was used to explain the annihilation of matter and pair production, where electron and positron they are combining to give photon, or otherwise photon is breaking up to give you electron and positron. Positron is similar to your electron, but of course having the positive charge, mass is same, and yet discoveries are going on photon, and we are just finding adding always more and more properties to the photon. But this relation I have written beta for you, so that it at times if you come across or you see this relation as anywhere, you should be able to relate the things from where it has come. Of course can be proved dimensionally correct. Next quantity with you is power, again important, and it is defined as the time rate of doing work, or you may say consuming the energy, or mathematically if you want to write, it is simply work done divided by time taken. So power P, capital P, can be written as work done upon time taken, or which is equals to energy which is consumed divided by the time taken. If I want to find the instantaneous power, then of course I have to take the limiting value of the work done. I will be taking it as dW by dt. So if you are saying that dW is F dot dr, in dot product of vectors you are writing, of course force and dr, these are the vector quantities. So power can be written as force into dr by dt, or you can write it as F dot v. So this relation power, it is again dot product of two vectors, it is a scalar quantity. This is if they are asking you to prove that why power is a scalar quantity. So because we can write it as the dot product of two vectors, that is force and velocity. So you should be able to work out this thing, and of course we are going to note few more points about the. Of course, as I have said, it is a scalar quantity being the dot product of two vectors. If you want to write the units of power, it is watt. Of course, 1 watt, it is equals to 1 joule per second. And 1 watt, you can say, if it is to be defined, that is defined as when 1 joule of work is done in 1 second. For 1 second, you can say. Of course, the bigger units we generally use, that is kilowatt, which is equals to 1000 watt, megawatt, which is 10 raised to the power 6 watt, and we use the horsepower, that is equals to 746 watt. Of course, we are using unit electrical energy when we are getting the energy in our places. We are using this unit, 1 unit of electrical energy, it is termed as 1 kilowatt hour. So it is the electrical energy consumed. It means 1 kilowatt of energy you are consuming for 1 hour. So you can write it into joule. It is actually, this is the unit of work done, of course, energy. So you can convert by simply writing 1 kilowatt into watt and hour into seconds. We are getting it 3.6 into 10 to the power 6 joule. So this value of 1 unit, of course, you can always use in numericals. Of course, this is the bigger unit of the energy, which is the commercial unit of energy, we say. So this much means when we are talking about energy, we should be able to talk about power also, and you should be able to define power and write it in terms of the dot product of vectors. This is if I ask you to do the graph plotting for variation of energy with the height or the distance above the mean position, because we have done with the experiment of simple pendulum. So you should be able to do that. This line which is passing through the mean position will be taken as the reference line, and you are taking it to the extreme position, it means you are raising it through the height h, and so the potential energy will be equals to mgh, and here the kinetic energy at the extreme position is 0. And when it comes back at mean position, potential energy becomes 0 and kinetic energy becomes maximum. This is only one side I have shown. Of course, if you want to show on the other extreme, you can extend the things. Total energy, that is total mechanical energy, remains conserved. So kinetic energy here is your h equals to 0, kinetic energy is maximum, and h equals to h, kinetic energy is 0. So you can show the graph for the other extreme also, but this was just to give you the comparison of the spring and the pendulum, because here we are taking this thread which is inextensible, inelastic, but spring is an elastic spring. So there the elastic potential energy you have to talk, and here you will be talking only in reference to the height. With you, first question I am reading for you. The figure shows a frictionless hemispherical bowl of radius r. Radius r is given of this hemispherical bowl. A ball of mass m is pushed down the wall from a point A. This point at height h, it is released, while the maximum radius, maximum height it can rise, I can say, is this capital R. When you are releasing it, it is reaching, it just rises up the edge of the bowl. Calculate the speed with which the bowl is pushed down along the bowl. So here it means we are using simply like simple pendulum, we are releasing a ball which is made to this height and r distance, it is moving up. So total energy at A should be equals to total mechanical energy at B. So at an A point, I am giving the velocity v, so kinetic energy is half mv square, and h height is given, that is mgh. But for B, it will be raising to the height r, and it is just reaching over there. It means its speed is becoming 0 or velocity is 0. So you can equate the values and calculate the speed with which it was drilled. So this type of questions on the conservation of mechanical energy can be there. Okay, 5 more question. One question I have taken on the power knowledge of yours. It's a very important question. A man cycles up a hill whose slope is 1 in 20. This is the reason why I have taken this question. One reason is this also, because when in question you have been asked that slope is 1 in 20, this you have to remember, this is giving you the sine of theta. If I write 1 in 5, it means sine theta is 1 upon 5. Here in the question they are saying 1 in 20, it means sine theta is 1 upon 20. So this is a standard saying. So you should be able to understand this line. When I am saying slope is 1 in 20, it means sine theta is 1 upon 20. The man is cycling up the hill with a velocity of 6.4 km per hour along the hill. So man is cycling up and velocity v is given in kilometer per hour. You can convert it into meter per second simply by multiplying it with 5 upon 18. So I am getting 16 upon 9 meter per second. The weight of the man and cycle is 98 kilogram. This is also given. M is 98 kg. What work per minute is he doing? How much work he is doing? Rate of doing work means you have to find the power. Velocity is uniform. So if I mark all the forces acting on this body, then mg always acts towards the center of the earth. If this angle is theta, then it means this angle is also theta. If you wish, you can mark the angle. this angle is theta. So you can write the mg into the component form, and I am able to get mg cos theta this side, mg sin theta this side. So mg sin theta is equating the force and mg cos theta is equating the normal reaction. So F, which is given by mg sin theta, and power is given by F into V. So you can put the value of force, which is equals to mg sin theta, into velocity V. We have already converted into meter per second. So you can put the values for mg. I am taking it as 10 meter per second square. Sin theta is given 1 upon 20. V is I have calculated 16 upon 9. So you can get, this is power which I am getting is 88 watt, and if you want to find power done per minute, then you can calculate, of course, work done per minute. If you have to calculate, then you can multiply this with the time per minute, means 60 seconds, and you can get the work done, which is coming out to be 5280 joules. So if they are simply, this is work done is watt, means 1 joule second, and they are asking for in a minute. So this you should be able to convert the things as per the requirement of the question. If they ask you to write the power in horsepower, you should be able to give the result in horsepower. So all this different units should be clear to you, and understanding of the concepts of course should be there with you. Thank you everyone.